Welcome back to another episode of the Catholic History Minute. Today we're going to talk about the Inquisition. It's been a while since we discussed the true nature of the Inquisition, and to be honest, we've been dragging our feet on doing subsequent videos because it seems EWTN has been reading our producer's mind. Or perhaps our producer has been reading their mind. Regardless, at the end of October, EWTN produced a fantastic mini-series on the Inquisition, and if you haven't seen it, we highly recommend that you check it out. Today, though, we're going to look at one of the greatest supporters of the Inquisition, the Blessed Mother. Now, you may think I'm being flippant towards Our Lady, but I'm actually being completely serious. The Blessed Mother, in fact, so supported the Inquisition that she gave one of the saintliest Inquisitors the greatest weapon against heresy the world has ever seen, the Rosary. First, we need to understand that the target of the Inquisitor was not the Jew, the Mohammedan, or the pagan. In fact, it's interesting to note that witches and warlocks were not executed during the Middle Ages. That came about from the Protestant and Enlightenment thinkers. No, the real target of the Inquisition were the heretics. Now, in today's modern church, it seems we're more afraid of the word than we are of actual heresy, which of course is ridiculous. But Hilaire Belloc in The Great Heresies best describes heresy when he says, quote,
"The denial of a scheme wholesale is not heresy. It is not the creative power of a heresy. It is of the essence of heresy that it leaves standing a great part of the structure it attacks. On this account, it can appeal to believers and continues to affect their lives through deflecting them from their original characters. Wherefore it is said of heresies that they survive by the truths they retain."
This brings us to the 13th century in St. Dominic. A terrible heresy had flooded southern France called Albigensianism, or Catharism. It's actually a recycled heresy. In the first couple of centuries of the church, it was known as Gnosticism or Manichaeism, and it's a bizarre theology. But the main difference is that the Albigensians didn't accept the inherent goodness of the created world. They believed that the physical world was not created by God the Father, but by another demigod they called the Demiurge. This god was a serious jerk, and his goal was to trap souls in physical bodies, separating them from the good God, the Father of Jesus. Now, sure, that's kind of weird, but why couldn't the church just let these guys believe whatever they wanted? Well, because their philosophy has seriously disordered policies that go along with it. Wine is evil, meat is evil, dancing, evil, and smiling, yeah, that's evil too. No, the real human rights violations come against women. You see, if a woman becomes pregnant, she can be flogged, and in some cases executed, because she's just helped the demiurge trap another soul. Abortion and infanticide, eventually, they come along with this theology, as the world witnessed in London in the 1640s. It took the church a long time to respond to this heresy, because she was busy fighting in the Holy Land and in Spain. But by the early 1200s, the cavalry was coming to southern France. A crusade was called, and along with the crusaders came the Inquisition and a man named Dominic. Dominic was an inquisitor who spent tireless hours trying to convert the Albigensians. He'd go into the public square and he'd preach the true gospel to the locals with his brother inquisitors. And they were often beat and spit upon, and some of them were even killed. But after a couple of years, the Inquisition was failing to convince any of the people of the value of the physical world. Now, one of the beliefs of the Albigensians was that Christ had never had a physical body, that he merely pretended to have one and was actually completely spirit. From a theological standpoint, this is problematic because if Christ isn't fully human as well as divine, well, then we're still kind of up that famous creek without a paddle. But there's someone else who takes great offense when we deny the human nature of Christ. The woman who gave Christ his physical body. So when in the early 1200s, St. Dominic went into the woods outside Toulouse to do penance for the sins of the heretics and for their conversion, Our Lady appeared. And I'll give you St. Louis Marie de Montfort's recounting of how the Blessed Virgin Mary gave Dominic the Rosary.
At this point, Our Lady appeared to him accompanied by 3 angels, and she said, "Dear Dominic, do you know which weapon the Blessed Trinity wants to use to reform the world?" "Oh, my Lady," answered Dominic, "you know far better than I do, because next to your Son, Jesus Christ, you have always been the chief instrument of our salvation." Then Our Lady replied, "I want you to know that in this kind of warfare, the battering ram has always been the angelic psalter, which is the foundation stone of the New Testament. Therefore, if you want to reach these hardened souls and win them over to God, preach my psalter."
So Our Lady acknowledges the terrible danger of heresy, and it was she who gave the Inquisition its greatest weapon. The Rosary had incredible results. Souls came pouring back to the church. Dominic spent the rest of his life devoted to preaching the Rosary. Now, there are some modern scholars who deny St. Dominic's role in the spreading of the Rosary because they prefer evolution to revelation and natural to miraculous causes. To that, we here at the Catholic History Minute say fiddlesticks. 13 popes have publicly professed the history of St. Dominic's role, as well as every Marian saint and mystic since the 1200s. In 2 weeks, we're going to talk about the Spanish Inquisition and look very closely at the accusations of torture that so many in the modern world level against the Inquisitors. And you may be surprised. But today, we thank the Lord and Our Lady for the gift of the Holy Rosary, and we ask for the intercession of St. Dominic when we're trying to show the world the truth of the Catholic faith.